We are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Millionaire Mindset Mondays. We're here every Monday night at 6 p.m. EST. And I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves. I have on guests that we've been speaking about partnerships, the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts, the experiences, and we hope you'll find value in what we've been speaking about. Again, I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves on a mission to make real estate investing fun, easy, and profitable. Tonight, we have with us Tom McCormick of McCormick Real Estate. And let's all wish Tom a happy birthday. It's his birthday
Thank you. Thank
today.
you.
So happy birthday, Tom. It's
Appreciate it.
uh,
It's the
I'm
best birthday
humbled
present
that
ever.
you, yeah, that you chose to spend part of your birthday with me. So
Oh,
anyway, if
absolutely.
you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background and about McCormick Brother Real Estate Investing, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, thanks for having me. This is great because I know we talk a lot and me and you're both in Windsor, so it's cool to be able to hop on your podcast and have a little bit of a spotlight here. And then yeah, I like what you're doing and I watch a lot of these once they air afterwards. So yeah, appreciate you having me here. But for those of you that might not know me, my name's Tom McCormick, as you already know, and I invest in real estate. I'm a real estate investor and I've been investing since about 20 end of 2020. And I started doing basically like the ADU conversions, and that's kind of where I did like had my baptism of fire. I just had a whole experience there, just trying to wade through all the permits and the processes, and just dealing with the city and inspections and having a bad property to begin with. It was crazy, but I decided to get into real estate because as an engineer, I graduated from the University of Windsor. I work in the States as an engineer. It's not as fulfilling. Like you love to build things, right? And so I said, well, maybe I can start to supplement my income and start to work towards doing this full time. Mind you, I haven't done that yet. I'm in the process of, but I I I always loved real estate, and I loved it because it was something tangible you could see and touch, and you could do many things to get creative. And again, the engineering side of things, you're building, you can build, you can modify, you can improve and optimize. So all that sort of stuff really drew me in, especially even at a young age. I always thought about let's do this, but for the longest time, I'll admit, before I actually started investing in 2020 or the end of 2020, I spent money on so many dumb things. I just I was young and I just was kind of blowing my money where I could, and I didn't really think of, oh, how do I actually buy a property? So I was renting for a while, but I finally just got sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I bought this first property, a nice single family home here in Windsor, Ontario, and that's where I'm based out of. I love my city. I love Windsor, and so does Jan. And I thought, well, maybe what I can do is I can convert this into a duplex and I can house hack. And if you don't know what house hacking is, it's really fantastic because you can just have either a roommate or other people in your building that'll help pay for your mortgage. Because as at the time a single dude, I thought to myself, I don't need a house with three bedrooms and an unfinished basement that I could convert, and I later did to an additional dwelling unit. So I thought, well, this is a great chance for me to really just get my feet wet.
I
And
think that's where we first met, Tom, was on a property tour, and we toured your ADU conversion in the process.
that's right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I just finished and just moved into my upstairs, and you and a bunch of the people, I think even Carrie and Rock were there. Shout out
yeah.
to them. Like there's other investors that came alongside. But I figured, and this is maybe something else to touch on later on. How the heck do I get to meet other real estate investors? How do I get my foot in the door to talk to other people that are doing many more things than I am? Because who am I, this little old me at the time, just doing a random conversion, kind of not knowing what I'm doing, just figuring it out as I go. And so I decided, well, it's the end of COVID. Everyone wants to connect. Everyone wants to get out there. How about I put a real estate meetup together? Because I'll tell you, and this is maybe a humble flex, no one else did real estate meetup at all in Windsor until before COVID. So I was the first one to actually initiate something. And then I was blown away. We had over 30 some people come out in total, like
Yeah,
maybe
yeah. I
to the
don't even
property.
know
And then
how I found
afterwards,
out about it, but yeah.
I posted on Facebook. I asked shout out to Savio to post in the Win City Investor Club, and I also did on Eventbrite. So I just shotgunned it. I was like, let's just see who comes. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was totally prepared to just have my mom, my sister just show up, and my brother.
yeah.
I was thinking it might just be a family thing, but it ended up having a decent amount of support and love come out. So yeah, that's a nice throwback memory actually that you
Right?
told me
Yeah,
about
yeah.
because that would have been about 2022 probably. Yeah,
Just as things were opening
2022
up,
when's opening up.
in-person
Yeah.
events. Yeah.
That gives you also a little bit of an idea how much time it took me to muddy my way, like just muck my way through this project because I got the place back in 2020 and then only 2022 was I actually showing the place off. So you can see that it took quite a while and it blew all my expenses. Um, it really taught me a lot. One, just being don't be the guy lifting the hammer. Even if you're competent and you're able to do it, doesn't mean you should, because your time might be valuable and you could leverage it more effectively other places. So whereas maybe I could have spent 6 grand, 5 grand on a drywaller, I could have saved a month of my time because I gutted this whole house straight to the studs. There was no insulation. I rewired the whole place myself with the help of my father. And we did the mudding, the boarding. I had someone come to the flooring, thankfully, in tile, but it was just quite an ordeal. So that was I think that's the first and biggest takeaway I ever had was you got to start hiring out. Otherwise, you'll never scale and you'll never be able to do more deals simultaneously, right?
Right. But when you're first starting, that's what you do, right? You
Yes,
do
you have to
hands-on.
bootstrap it.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
don't have the funds available. And I mean, it's still good learning, but absolutely, as you scale, you need to
it,
have who, not how, and mentorship and coaching to be able to learn how to scale as well,
that's
right?
key too. Yeah, having someone
Hmm.
there to come alongside you potentially was really valuable because at the time I didn't really have that. Another reason why I made the meetup because I didn't really have anyone to connect with. So I will say one thing actually. I really appreciate Savio for doing this. I had asked him to come out because I saw that he does ADUs, so I had paid him just as like a consulting fee to come to my basement and see what the heck I could do because I was stuck,
Yeah.
and I wasn't sure what to do with the permits. And I said, "Hey, would you take this on as your project? Would you be the GC?" It's just me handing it off because I was already sick and tired of like the top taking too long. And he actually, I remember he told me is like if you ever want to be in this in the like the long term, you need to do it yourself. Kind of like you said, you have to at some point you have to kind of do it yourself, put in some sweat equity and learn. He said you have to do it yourself,
So
otherwise
that
you'll
when
never
you're
under.
managing somebody, right, then you know what the process is and if they're doing it right, or even if they're giving you quotes, if they're accurate, or yeah,
Exactly, you hit it on the head there. So you won't know really if like let's say contractors BSing you a little bit or you can spot defects that you know hey that doesn't look quite right or maybe you can talk the lingo a bit better with the future inspectors or other contractors if you're trying to uh, relay a certain point saying okay build it this way or I need my kitchen this a certain way so
right.
it that was really actually important because if I wouldn't have done that I don't know if I would be here now because having that hands-on experience really helped me know how to do things with like the city and future projects, just managing them and actually being able to know, oh, hey, we have a bad contractor here. Let's move on, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of how how I started. It's a long-winded answer, but that's kind of how I got into
Hmm.
real estate, and that's
But
the first ever
yeah,
project that I did, and it took a while, but it was super valuable lesson to be learned there. Met a lot of takeaways.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
I love it when I'm talking with contractors, trades, those kind of people, and like I think when they first look at me, they
Right.
don't know that I
They're
know how to swing
unassuming.
a hammer, and I know, and then when I start talking, you can see how they change their attitude, the
They're
way
like,
they're
oh,
talking to
dang.
me, like, oh, this chick knows what she's talking
Yeah,
about,
she's no sloucher, no pushover. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, it's pretty
I'm
funny.
sure you had your
Anyway, and
experiences, yeah.
and so that's good, right? Because as you learn, when you're talking to them, they know that you know what you're talking about.
hmm I think that goes a long way because not that I'm not saying every contractor does this, but you can easily be taken advantage of if you don't speak your mind or if you come across as unknowledgeable, they'll say, "Oh, this person we can upcharge you here." Maybe they can say the project can take much longer and just work on someone else's stuff. You need to really stay on their butts, or at least incentivize them to work, because that's, I think, and I've made this mistake in the past. Sometimes you give them too much of a leash, and then they they really they bite your hand, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
you need to be on
Yeah.
top of your game and manage the project, or at least have someone who can manage for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, somebody had suggested on one of the podcasts that you give them a bonus for finishing on time, but
Yeah.
you shave back the cost a little bit. Say maybe you shave back the costs 5%, but then you give them a 10% bonus if they finish within the timeline that they said.
Yeah, the old carrot and stick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that's very important too. Time is money, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of times on that point, people they 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 underestimate how long a project will take, obviously. That's like super common, right? Everyone's heard that. Or they
Hmm.
also underestimate like the budgets,
The
but
cost. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the costs. But
Hmm.
I think if you have like a contingency in place, if you plan ahead, then you can really get yourself out of a lot of these murky situations. Um, what I've been learning, and actually was talking to another investor about this, what they do, and what I'm going to start implementing is actually saying, okay, contractor, we have a timeline of this much, right? And then I ask them, are you absolutely certain you can do it in this time frame? And if they say yes, I say okay. From there, I'll still add another week and a half, 2 weeks buffer, but at
Yeah.
least then I will have it in writing. I will have a whole, I'll have all their quotes, and I'll have their whole build list, like kind of our project timeline done, and
Hmm.
I should say it's a scope of work. That's what I meant to say. I'll
Right.
have their scope of work, and I will hold them to it like a essentially a legal document saying, hey, you agreed to it here, and then your carrot and stick comes into play. Now,
Yeah, I
when
would
you pass this
absolutely
milestone, here's an extra
yeah,
draw or
implement
whatever
that
else.
on
Yeah.
any any project really that you're doing that the
Hmm.
unit's going to be empty while you're doing renovations. I would absolutely put that into my next contract.
Yeah. I think it's key because I had an issue one time. We were doing a flip, and we had a contractor. Basically, we didn't have a really airtight contract. We just almost, it felt like a handshake deal. It wasn't, but we had just the most generic scope of work you could speak of. It was like, okay, new electrical, new kitchen, okay, but what does that mean? Like, is it, um, are we rewiring the kitchen? Are we removing all this knob and tube? Like, are we just putting in a couple outlets? It was super nondescript. And then at the bottom of the line, it's like total 90 grand. And mind you, there are other items too. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
when I went back and after we were having some issues with this guy, we went back and like looked and said, okay, so what are we on the hook for? What did he actually agree to? I realized, oh man, we really had an oversight here. We didn't actually think we kind of jumped in this project a little too hastily. We were super eager to get started, and we at the time this contractor actually came recommended. That's the whole side tangent. He came recommended, so I just assumed, okay, we're fine. We're fine. I can trust this guy.
Right, right.
But you
Yeah,
can kind of see where this is going. It turned out into a little bit of a mess, and we had to kind of salvage this thing. But if we would have had a better scope of work, it would have been easier to argue with him and say, no, actually, you didn't hold up your side of the deal. You need to still fix this. Oh, this is not up to what you said it would be. Um, it would be easier to kind of have gotten our money back because at
yeah,
the end of the day, we lost some money on that on
yeah.
that contractor. But you learn. You have to fail forwards, and as long as you don't quit and actually,
That's right. That's right. With every project, you gain experience, right?
yeah, be grateful you're making the mistakes on the smaller stuff before you get into the big leagues. Because if you can't
Well,
handle
and
it,
that's how you get to the bigger stuff is you start on the smaller stuff and you learn and then
yeah,
stepping stones, right?
absolutely. I just always tell myself I don't deserve being on the next level if I can't handle the problems of today. There's always levels, right? And when you get to the next level, there's going to be another different challenge. It's just going to be a different, probably bigger scale. So,
Absolutely. And that's what being a real estate investor is all about is solving problems, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually another reason I love real estate. You're right. The problem solving, you can get creative. I can ping ideas off of you. We can brainstorm together. You can cut it many ways or have many exit strategies even. So
Yes, yes.
it's cool.
And I mean you can get creative with every aspect of it. Design,
Yeah,
financing,
you like the financing part of it, creative
right? Yeah.
financing.
Tenants, removing tenants, whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, just getting creative with looking at a building and what you can do with it to bring value or bring the value of it up
Mm.
project.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Value of increasing value of buildings. I don't know. Should we go into that one a little bit?
Sure, absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
I think I think a lot of people here maybe they're more interested in like the multifamily space. I could only assume because we're wealth genius. We got wealth genius people watching.
Some, not
But
not all are, but yeah, we
yeah,
we
not
are
all,
in
not
the
all.
multifamily stream. Yeah.
But I think there's definitely people are interested in the multifamily space. But there are some common things that you can do to increase the value of the building and the operating income, right? Um, So I think one of the ways, and I've this is just personally, I think this is really interesting. There's actually an engineer. He has a company now, and he separates the water meters, and so you can
Ah,
actually pass off the water, not just utilities, to tenants. So because you can sub meter. Um, so I don't know. I heard of that the other
yes.
day.
No, somebody local, Tom?
Um, he's based in London, I believe, but he does stuff in Windsor too.
Okay, we
I
need
can
to
tell you who
talk
it is
about that.
after. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Hmm.
Because every little bit counts, and I don't think people realize like $30 here and the $40 there on your like extra revenue cut in, you get
Right.
2 to 3 times that back on your evaluation of the building.
Right. Right. Now, is
Um,
that actually separating the meters or is that putting meters on the usage per?
Sub metering, so you're not actually separating the meter because
Okay, sub meter. Yeah.
you'll have one main meter come in, and then you'll have a sub meter. So you'll have a in each unit you'll have a meter that is either I think it's connected to some Wi-Fi or to
Okay.
some sort of signal it sends you to a main computer that kind of gives you readings. And
That's
so each unit
very,
will
yeah.
show how much water is flowing through, and you'll be able to then back charge that to the tenants.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I was just inquiring about a property and talking with a plumber, and he said that this particular property couldn't be separated because of the line coming in was only 3/4 versus, so there wouldn't be enough pressure.
Pressure
But
to separate it, yeah.
they're separated within, but not
Mhm.
from the main. So yeah, that would be very interesting to know about
It
that.
is, yeah, it's handy because a lot of times I don't think, especially on the older buildings, you can just put a whole nother water feed in or
Hmm.
a water supply. You have to work with what you already got.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
that's cool that you're
Yeah,
looking at
because
some
it's the
buildings.
main
Was
line
that,
coming in, that the size of it, I guess. Um,
yeah,
yeah, that's the way they explained it to me.
is this one potentially in Windsor? I'm just curious. Is this
Yes,
in the
yes,
area?
yes,
Okay,
it is.
perfect.
It it is.
I
Yeah,
just assumed
yeah, yeah. We'll
in
talk.
our
Yeah,
backyard.
it's one that I already have.
Okay.
We'll talk about that. Um, so let's talk about partnerships and your experiences, what you've been doing with that.
Yeah, I guess so. Me and my brother, Robert McCormick, he was actually on your podcast as well
Yes,
a couple
yes, and
weeks
we talked
back.
yeah,
Um,
about your partnership and how you guys align, of course, because
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I would say he's my number one partner
yeah, yeah.
because uh, he's blood.
You've vetted him for
I've vetted
quite a
him for
while.
life,
Yeah,
and he has for me. He knows all the skeletons in my closet.
yeah,
It's kind of hard to hide from someone that knows how you operate and knows your quirks. And I feel genuinely blessed that I can actually have someone that I like a family member that I'm willing to work with and able to, and have a working relationship because I understand some people they don't get along, or even if you do, you for business things you butt heads still.
right,
I'm not saying we're perfect by any means, but um, we make it work, and we've really been trying to trying to build something together, like essentially a family empire, and include even like my parents, my younger sister as well. Just get everyone involved because we don't want anyone left behind. What's it matter if we can quit our jobs or if we can make some money if we leave if we leave the loved ones back in the dust. So we're just trying to get everyone involved. But yeah, me and my brother have been working together now for a little while, and we've got a couple projects that we've done so far. Actually, on a couple of them, Robert's actually bankrolled me. I think that's how we initially started because Robert was busy doing his own real estate stuff, but he had an extra chunk of cash available to us. And so he used, I believe, his HELOC and he financed part of my renovations for my one of my first flips in Windsor. So that was
Perfect.
really cool
Hmm.
because you're just sitting there in a HELOC, and this is something maybe for you guys who might be watching. You can use your HELOC to invest. I would be very careful. I just want to say something. This is not legal advice, but also be careful.
Disclaimer.
Disclaimer:
Yeah.
be aware of
Yeah.
prom notes too, though, because this was a prom note from me, from my brother to me. And I know nowadays prom notes have a big stigma attached to them, and it's true. They're pretty risky. So I would be very careful who you lend to. So just with that asterisk involved. But
Yeah.
he used his HELOC to me, and I gave him a percentage back. And I'm essentially paying the empire back, if that makes any sense. So it's not really that I'm having to pay my brother; it's that we're paying into our future,
Right.
and we're building it together. So
Very good.
that was the first one we ever did. We said, you know what? There's this place available here in Windsor. This makes a lot of sense. Do we have the funds to do it? I don't have it all myself, but I know you do. So let's finally do this together because you've done some real estate by yourself, and so have I. We did our ADU conversion separately, and he even bought like a duplex after that with him and his wife. So we said, what the heck are we doing? let's
Absolutely.
let's get involved
Absolutely.
together. Um, what we did do though, and I'll say this is whenever you join up with partners and you vet people and you want to get involved with them, definitely hang out with them for a little while. Just see who they are as a person. See the previous work that they've done in terms of projects, because a lot of people out there they can sell you smoke and mirrors. And I'm sure we've heard stories where people they seemed way more official or way more they had way more many more accolades and many
Hmm.
doors, but it turns out they're broke or they're about to go under and or they owe a lot of people money. So be careful who you partner with because it's essentially it is a marriage. And then once you get into it, a partnership, especially if it's a corporation, you're on the hook just like they are. So whatever they do can weigh you down or can push you up.
Yeah, depending on how the partnership is set up, but
Yeah.
yeah, promissory notes are really not doing well right
No, no.
now. But
It's hard to get money as it is, but even prom
yeah,
notes,
yeah.
no chat.
I just want to point out too, I've been telling people, I guess, or showing them a little bit too, how they can use their HELOC to get into equity positions,
Mm,
right? So then
yes.
it's more
Yeah.
secure than a promissory note.
I think that's a great point.
Hmm.
Having your name on the property itself, that or a second position mortgage, you're much more safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
yeah,
we're
there's lots of different ways through mortgages or actual buying into the equity, right? But yeah,
yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a good way to do it.
Something, yeah. Promissory notes are okay amongst family, maybe, or
Yeah, even
maybe
then
not.
you gotta be
Yeah.
careful because they know where you live too. And you're
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yeah. But yeah, I've seen a lot of promissory notes not go well lately. So
yeah,
yeah.
it's. I think real estate goes in cycles, and this is one of the kind of the bust cycles. So you're gonna really see after a couple of years who the true investors are, if that so to speak. Because some people over leveraged, as you hear, and some people um, did some sketchy things just because they thought they'd make money just by having the asset would just keep going up. So
Yeah.
we'll have to see who kind of who's left standing
Ooh,
in the coming
yeah.
years.
Yeah. Last
Yeah,
man standing because there was some pretty big people that went down.
I
That,
know. You never even assume either. You'd say, really, these people?
yeah.
It's sad. It really is, but that just says it goes to show you need to do your own due diligence and not don't get shiny object syndrome or just jump into bed with anyone that you want to jump in bed with. Yeah, you need to
Yeah,
almost,
but
yeah.
what I'm hearing even is people did do their due diligence,
Mm,
um, and like the market shifted. So you really have to know that the numbers have been run very conservatively to
yeah.
allow for, those shifts. And yeah, people over leveraged. I think that was
Yeah, you kind of
the thing.
almost want to take a look at your partner's books.
Hmm.
Uh, I had another partner. I kind of would wish I would have kind of just double checked first before doing that. Because if you see the way they run their own personal finances or their other flips or burr multifamily whatever projects they have, it kind of gives you a inside look of how they work, how risk averse they are,
Hmm.
and then you could hopefully if they're not willing to show you their books, maybe that's a red flag too, right? It's not that you're
Absolutely.
trying to go nickel and dime and say, "Oh, you bought a pop from 7-Eleven. How could you?" Like it's not like you're on a
Yeah, yeah,
strict
yeah, yeah,
budget,
yeah,
but you
yeah.
want to see how they manage everything and if they're competent. And if
How
yeah,
people do one thing is how they do everything, right? They say like if
absolutely,
hmm
yeah. You, I like that saying.
hmm
That's a good way to live your life too. You don't want to half-ass anything. You want to do it with the best of your ability, whatever you do. You know.
Yeah, and if they're constantly overspending, right? If they're spending more than they make, then
Hmm.
it's not good. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Or you see, oh man, you have all these lines of credit that are being used. This is how much money do you really have to contribute to the project if, God forbid, something goes wrong? So that's another thing.
exactly.
If you do partner, you need some contingencies in place saying, okay, in our JV or our agreement or our operating agreement for the corp, what do we do in XYZ situation? What do we do? Like you hear the class one, like what do you do if someone dies? But you're more so, what do we do if the project goes wrong? And how do we handle this? Do you bring some money? Do I bring some money? Who's on the hook for this? Um, all that sort of stuff. But a good
Hmm.
lawyer though will answer all these questions for, or at least prod you or provide you with some of these questions to ask in the first place. And that's kind of their
Right.
job to protect you. So I encourage you, if you ever get in partnership, lawyer,
Yeah,
get a good
don't
lawyer,
just
and then
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Go out for a beer and decide that you're going to partner with somebody. Like really get to know them over a long period of time and yeah, find
yeah,
yeah, find out about them.
absolutely.
Hmm.
I'll say one thing too. Knowing someone over a long period of time is huge. So like, just be friends at first. Don't try to force anything. I think in Wealth Genius, I'm just speaking for myself here. A lot of people are always like the active partner, looking for money, looking for this, looking for that. But I think you just need to build some relationships, kind of follow up occasionally, and and provide value as much as you can, and then inherently you will probably attract the right people who you want to partner with in the first place
Right.
by just giving back as much as you can, and then it'll come back. I don't really want to call it karma because I don't really believe in karma, but the positive energy that you put out there is a reflection of you, and then people see that and they say, okay, I like this person. I understand what you're about. I've seen you consistently show up in the same manner, just like what you do is how you do everything. And then there you go. Boom. Before you know it, you have a JV partner. Maybe you have that passive partner with that funds that you really wanted, or maybe have that person, um, that mentor come alongside you and say, "Hey, I see what you're doing. I like it. Here, how about we do it this way, or how about we partner and I show you a thing or two." It's, I think it's really important to do that. Just
Right.
don't force it.
And it depends on the project too, right? Like
Yeah.
who the partner is might be good for one project, but not for another project. So, yeah, it's really just building those relationships over a period of time.
Hmm. I like. I'll add to this too. There's a cool book I've I really liked it. It's nothing super revolutionary, but it's called Never Eat Alone. And the whole
Never
premise,
eat alone?
never eat alone.
Okay.
Yeah, and I forget who it's made by. Is it on my shelf behind me? Oh, I moved it. Um, Basically, the whole premise is give back as much as possible without really. the intention of getting something in return. And that's kind of what I had just repeated. But another thing was when you network, do it over food. Meet up with people over food, and that's a great
Hmm.
way to bond with people and to really um, kind of get people's defenses down and just have a heart to heart, just normal conversation. Because I don't
Yeah.
think a lot of people in this day and age just talk.
I love what Alfonso says about that. See how they order their food. Like if it
Oh,
takes them like half an hour to make a decision on what they're gonna have,
oh no.
you know what I mean? Like, uh, yeah,
You know they're going to be the person like say hemming and hawing over the color of the vinyl when it really doesn't matter because it's a rental.
exactly, exactly. Like, really, is that an important decision, right?
Oh
So
man.
I love that too, and that's a great place to yeah start is with eating. Go
Yeah,
if you're
with
going
eating.
out to a restaurant, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And in that same book, then it talks a little bit about CRMs as well, customer relationship management.
Okay, very good.
So it's kind of well-rounded book about kind of a lot of tidbits here and there about everything. And this guy's a little old school. He did it with like paper flashcards and also like micro like with Excel sheets. But you could
Yeah,
use the same philosophy on building one for yourself with like HubSpot or whatever you want to use.
right,
Where you
right.
have your main circle of influence that you want to keep touching and talking to. Maybe your second ring of people who maybe
Then I got it.
you're still on a first name basis kind of thing, but you don't really you're not like best friends with them and you're just orbiting each other. You know of each other and you touch them maybe once a month. And so he gave some practical tips in there that I really enjoy and I kind of use that
Yeah,
when
I
trying to reach
just
out
looked
to
it up here.
people.
It's by Keith Ferrazzi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Razi.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, check it out if you have a chance.
yeah,
It's I
yeah.
think
That's great.
it's worth the read, I think.
Hmm.
And yeah, I like it because it helped me, and I'm still working on this too, but it helped me have a bit more of a systematized process. Like a lot of times we're trying to build a real estate business, but we're just kind of shooting in the dark. We're doing we're running around with our chicken like a chicken with their heads cut off because we got to fight fires here, we got to talk to people there, we have to manage a contractor here, but like if you have a process in place saying, okay, I do it this certain task in a certain way and usually maybe at a certain time, it makes things way better. And so one of the things was for me is was how do you keep track of all the people you met? How do you keep track of all the potential investors your on your list? Because you're supposed to have like an investor list so that you can one day, if when you have a deal, have people come on board or an investor list so I can maybe sell my flip to you or something like that. Like, here's a
Right.
turnkey property because I know you were looking for
Hmm.
these, or oh, I know you really like Windsor as opposed to Detroit, so I know you're in the Windsor
The
bucket.
Windsor people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Windsor people
yeah,
represent.
yeah.
So,
Or
I
Windsor investors, I guess. Yeah.
Windsor investors exactly.
Yes.
As a
Yeah.
side note, me and Jen love Windsor. Windsor's the place to be, and I'll just be on my soapbox for a second here.
Go ahead. Go.
Windsor
Yeah.
is in the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years, Windsor's going to explode. And it's still one of the most affordable cities in Ontario. And we have a lot of things going for us. We have the new Gordie Howe Bridge. We have a mega hospital coming. We have a couple battery plants already popping up. We have Chrysler. They brought back or Stellantis. They brought back the third shift. There's a lot of activity. The population's increasing. We have a lot of people who work in the States but live in Windsor. So they bring back a lot of like US money to inject into our economy. So we have a lot of things going for us. And the city is really working hard to improve the downtown and improve the Fort City. So there's a lot of good pockets to invest in, and you just got to keep your eyes out. It might be hard to find a flip right now, I'll admit, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, if you buy and hold here in Windsor, you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People have to come in to fill the jobs at all these.
Yeah, skilled jobs too. They're not just
Mhm.
a random worker on the line. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, we
these
need
aren't Tim
some.
Hortons or McDonald's, right?
Yeah,
Like these are, yeah, skilled labor that has higher salaries
yeah.
or wages for sure.
And then that just
Mhm.
has a trickle down effect for everything else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
got us from a tangent there
Yeah,
about
no,
Windsor, but
absolutely. I'm always pushing Windsor. I always say, so many people are saying, go to different markets, go to different markets. And I just think every once in a while you get that little shiny object, glinting over here, and I'm like, nope, Nope, no. I can
Yeah.
still find things that the numbers work here. My team's here. I know the market well. We know the areas, we know the pockets, we
Mm.
know yeah.
You mentioned, yeah, you have a team here. You have your roots. You've built up over time people that you know and trust and who actually can perform. And that's huge too. I think when people want to invest in a different place, you have to rebuild that from scratch or at least get the
Yeah.
referrals and it's the whole rigmarole again about
Trial and error
trying the other
because
area. Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
it can be
And if
daunting.
it's a distance away, then how do you keep your thumb on the project? If it's different if it's turnkey, right? Then you
Yeah.
just have to, have a solid property manager that can take care of that. But you still have to manage a property manager. And from a distance, we hear stories about I think it is what is it, New Brunswick or Nova Scotia, that they're having all the problems right now with the property managers
I've
and
heard
people.
some murmurings. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. So that that's tough. That's if they're not doing their job properly, um, then you're not making cash flow, right?
Hmm.
Then
Maybe there's an opportunity for someone in New Brunswick who wants to have a company. Just make
yeah.
it property management. And as long as you're competent, you'll succeed.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seems like a lot of the time, and there are good property managers out there, but it seems like a lot of the time they're hit or miss. And I don't know why it is, but I think it's because eventually they grow to a certain point a little bit too fast or just too big, and then they can't manage like the onesie twosie properties, and they can't really give you that personal touch as much.
That yeah, that's
Yeah.
required, right? And that's a big problem.
Hmm.
If you're trusting somebody to manage your property and it's, 3,000 kilometers away, like that's a big problem. You
Yeah.
can't just, like here we can, if there's an issue, that we can just drive to the property in 20 minutes or
Yeah, that's
whatever it
amazing.
is.
Yeah, having that peace of mind that it's in my backyard, I can go there and find it, or I can
Yeah,
see what's the issue, then that's perfect. Mind
yeah.
you, you probably don't want to be that person eventually. Like you have to start probably self-managing most of the time, but eventually, like beforehand, you want to offload these certain tasks so you can leverage your time, and that would be one thing you want to hand off, assuming you can find someone
Right.
that's good and competent.
Right.
Yeah.
You're still offloading the task, but you're still managing the
Oh,
people that are
sure.
doing the task, right? And
Yeah.
and I just heard somebody speak about that recently, how um, you know, 3, 4, 5 years ago, everybody was saying, oh, you build your portfolio and then you go park on a beach somewhere and you collect the money, right? Well, it doesn't seem for active investors. Yeah, they're saying like that's not working right now. The people who
Mm,
are have hands-on of managing the properties, not necessarily swinging the hammer or doing the property management,
it's
but
a lot of work.
that they're actively involved in managing what's the going on.
Yeah. To that point too, I think people think real estate can be. eh, I think some people are naive about real estate. They say, "Oh, if as long as I have a little bit of cash flow, I can just sit back and relax," like you're saying. But I don't think they realize that if you're wearing all the hats, it's going to use up all your time. It's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, yeah.
competitive.
I'm not saying to wear all the hats, but to manage all the hats.
Yeah, yeah. Even to
Yeah,
manage it just takes work. And
yeah,
I'm just saying people don't realize sometimes the
yeah.
difficulties. And yeah, I think I was one of those people initially too. So I'm
Well,
not
and I
I'm,
think
I'm
that's how
not
most
going and
people
saying all
start.
high and
Yeah,
mighty, but it happens that way. But
yeah.
luckily for anyone watching this, me and Jen are both active investors, so we'll take on anyone that wants to be passive on that beach. No problem, anytime, any day.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
People, yeah, yeah. No passive investors, you go to the beach.
yeah.
You park your money in. But passive investors are not acquiring the properties. They're not actively looking for strategies to increase the net operating income and
No.
turnover tenants. Like they're not involved actively that way of strategy.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
They rely on the active partner essentially to be that intermediary to
expert.
manage
Yeah.
everything or expert. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. to
Yeah.
take care of those things. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anybody that's watching that's not a real estate investor, but would like to invest money in real estate, it's a great opportunity. And you don't have to be involved in tenants and toilets and
Yeah.
day-to-day activities or managing, finding property managers, managing the property managers, any of those sorts of things, right?
Hmm.
Refinancing the deals. Um, there's a lot of things that active partners do without swinging a hammer,
Oh
right?
yeah, tons.
Yeah, yeah,
What do
yeah.
you think is the most difficult one from your side? Because I know you're the active investor. What's the thing that takes a lot of the most time for you, or that's the toughest?
Um, well, finding deals
That's
that
a
will
huge one.
work,
Yeah,
right?
because the
Yeah.
actives also find the deals, bring the deals to people and say, hey, we have this opportunity. Check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. And that's why I'm starting to work with more people to that are, eh, take some time to do that because you can't do everything. I'm pretty good at creative financing, as you know.
Hmm.
That's my thing. Um, yeah, and then the other thing is I spend a lot of my time educating people, uh, non-investors, how they, you know, can get into real estate investing without and be on the beach.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Don't leave that part out. Yeah.
Hmm.
The education aspect, that can be tough. Because I think a lot of people they haven't been exposed to these different ways of making money. They've just
Yeah.
thought the classic 9 to 5. But when you initially try to tell them to open their eyes, it's a little tough to
Yeah.
pry them open, pry them open. So,
Well,
well, for some
it's
people,
like yeah, it's like when there's new people at a boot camp, right? That we go to
yeah,
and those aha moments, those light bulb moments,
the
and they're
spark
like,
turns on.
"Really? Well, you can do that?" And like
Yeah, no
how
one tells them. Yeah,
yeah, how to increase NOI by changing toilets and, by spending, I don't know, $10,000, you can increase the value of the building by $60,000.
yeah, it's
And,
huge.
like things like that, right? So, yeah, it's just people don't know what they don't know, right?
Hmm. Being that person that can kind of help, I think is very rewarding. And it's not necessarily because I'm making money off of you or anything, but it's because, wow, this person can potentially become financially free. This person can finally do the things that they wanted to do or not have to pinch pennies as much. This is where me and my brother also have a real sticking point. We want to quit our jobs as engineers. We feel grateful that we have the job, but we know there's bigger and better things out there to do in real estate. And you can work your 9 to 5 all day long, but I would still stress that you should still have other supplementary sources of income, especially in this economy in Canada right now as it is. I'm not going to get into really the politics, but
Right, right. Yeah.
there is definitely this is definitely in this day and age, there's definitely like a strong case for diversifying, whether that be a little bit of stocks or real estate, because at the end of the day, you're only just a number with some of these companies for the most
Right.
part. There are companies that love their employees. I'm not saying that there aren't, but you got to be careful. And there's going to be layoffs, there's going to be tariffs coming in and stuff. You need other ways to supplement when the groceries go up, or there's inflation, or the government just keeps printing money. What do you do to stop yourself from all this inflation? You need an asset, or you need some really stellar stocks. But I'd say get an asset, get a building.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
and I'm trying to share my knowledge with people more my age,
yeah, yeah. And
honestly.
for
I mean, yeah,
retirement, like you're
a couple
saying, yeah.
decades ahead of you,
No,
but
you're
people that
29,
are
right?
close to their retirement and don't
Yeah.
have a great some people don't have pensions like myself,
Mm,
um, or their pension is fixed, and who knows what? Maybe they are going to get laid off, with these tariffs coming in, and they're not going to get their full pension. But just how they can really supplement their income with things that they already have, like they don't have to have a chunk of money. That like a great example of that is using a HELOC, right?
mhm.
And to be able to create generational wealth. That
That's huge. The generational wealth component. I think I for a one day parent, I'm not married yet, but I can only hope to be able to pass something down to my children, just like my parents were able to provide for me. I think there's something there. You have to uh, protect and provide for your own. Maybe I'm talking this more from a male perspective too. I just want to provide everything, but um, yeah, you definitely want to build that generational wealth, and I don't see you really doing that in very many other ways besides either building your own company of some kind or buying assets in real estate and passing those down to your kids. Or you could do both, have a real estate business and vertically integrate some things, saying, okay, well, we have a contracting company, we have a maybe some in the family is the realtor, someone's like the mortgage agent, right? And then you
Yeah,
can
and you
have
got the
these
whole
things all
package.
stacked and working together.
Hmm.
So uh, yeah, that kind of brings it back to my goal with my brother and I is just to build something in the family. And we're still going to working, and we are currently working with other partners, but I think the main one is just to work together to build something concrete that we can then look back on decades from now and say, look at this, look at what we did, and now we don't have to stress, we don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from. Uh, I look forward to that day, but
Well,
I would,
and that's what it's done for me, right? Because being self-employed all my life, and don't have a pension,
mhm.
and I was always fearful, like, what if something happened that I couldn't work? Where
Yeah,
is the next meal coming
that's a
from?
great
You
point.
know, what if I broke my hip, or like, what if
Yeah,
my arms wouldn't work anymore,
you
or
gotta ensure your hands.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
and it was, oh,
Oops.
we
Oh,
lost you there for a sec.
I will get that back on. I think I
No,
pulled my
it was a very real problem to me, and a big worry, and how real estate investing has really turned that around for me in, 5.5 years, and how it's really changed my future. And that daily stress, like, it was my whole life, it's always been in the back of my mind because I was, the sole provider for my
yeah,
daughters. Now
yeah, you
I
were
have got them through, now they're good. Now they're through post-secondary, they're both
amazing.
professionals,
Amazing.
they're both working. So then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, what about me?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what
Yeah,
if,
put your
what
own
if,
oxygen
right?
mask on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I should have put it on before, but I was,
Yeah,
busy
you
taking
did
care of
what you had
them.
to do. Yeah,
And
you did what you had to do.
yeah, yeah. So now it's like what I've learned through two different groups, it has been incredible. And what we've learned is you have to partner. You have to
Yeah.
partner with people to be able to do bigger things, right?
What does Alfonso say? He says the the obstacle between, or maybe not even an obstacle, but the thing between you and your goals are
People.
people.
Yeah,
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 without people,
yeah,
you can't do anything in this game because real
yeah.
estate is a people's game. And I feel like this is a cliche or I'm preaching to the choir, but it's true. How do you expect to sometimes find a deal or to fund it or do all these things? It's you have to find individuals who want to do the same thing. And the
Absolutely.
trick is actually finding these people, or at least
Yeah.
putting out the right vibrations to attract them. So. I think doing things like this podcast that you're doing is amazing. So I appreciate you having me on because it gets eyeballs on everyone and it provides value, but it also for yourself, this is a
I just
great way
love
to
talking
find
to other
people.
real estate
Oh, I
investors. I
know.
could, 24/7.
I
I
know.
would get
That's,
nothing done. Just, I love talking to people that,
oh, I
yeah.
know. Because every real estate meetup in Windsor, Jan's always there.
Yeah.
So you want to find Jan, just come to one of the several meetups that there
You
are.
can
And Jan
hear her
actually runs
laughing
one.
over in the corner there.
Yeah. You'll be laughing with your glass of wine.
Yeah. 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 No,
Yeah.
I love it. But not just other investors, which are wonderful tools to get, to your next goals, but it's also your team. It's
Yep.
it's tenants, right?
Even
Like,
tenants
tenants
or
are
their
people,
people.
and
Yeah.
they're part of um, the whole goal, and you have to, find the right tenants and keep them happy, and provide them value.
Yeah, don't be a
Um,
slumlord, that's for sure.
yeah, I think it all goes back to providing value to everybody, right? To each other. That's a great book as well that was recommended. I don't know if you've read it, is the Go-Giver.
The Go-Giver. I've heard of it. I've never
Oh,
actually read it, but I think it's on my list. I'll have to double check and put it on
yeah, you
Audible or,
should,
or
it's
wherever
an
else.
easy read.
Okay.
I've read it twice. Yeah, it's a short, easy read, and it's just It's actually fiction, but it's a great story.
All right.
Just yeah, but it's
Although
a
providing the
I
value
highly
or
recommend it.
okay,
Yeah.
I won't have it spoiled then. I'll do my
Yeah,
homework.
yeah, no, it's not really deep. It's just parables, shall we say,
Sometimes
but
those are the best ways to get it like a point across is through story. So
yeah.
yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be kind of a nonfiction book.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll add that to the
Yeah.
list. I appreciate the recommendation because
Yeah, no, it's a great book. I
it's
do highly recommend it. The other one I've been recommending to people, which I read before I even got into real estate investing, um, is the RRSP Secret.
oh yeah, okay, okay. I've never read that one, but I see where you're going with this. You
Yes,
got to
yeah.
explain to people what you can do
So
with
it
your
just kind
RSPs.
of yeah debunks all the myths about RSPs and the fees involved and the hidden fees and we're taught all our life you put your money in RSPs and you'll have a great retirement and um yeah it's
Yeah.
and it talks about Olympia Trust
Oh, it
how
actually
it
mentions them by
does,
name.
yeah.
Oh.
So I knew that before I even joined the first group.
Hmm.
But I thought, okay, that's fine. I put my RSPs in Olympia Trust to, invest them in what I want, but I don't know anybody or I don't know, what to. So when I joined the first group and there was some opportunities,
You put it to work.
to move them over to Olympia Trust.
Amazing.
Yeah, which is so you're not cashing them in, you're just investing them in higher
Higher
returns, right?
returns, yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
bank's never going to tell you about that because they want your money and they want to put it to work for themselves. Yeah.
Well, and it'll tell you all about what banks tell you and what an advisor and an advisor and people that work at the banks are. Oh, great story.
I'm all ears.
Yeah. When Roz was on, oh my goodness, she worked at a bank for a very short period of time. Basically, she said because Roz, she likes to wear fun outfits and she wanted
Yeah.
people to
She's
compliment her
flashy.
daily.
Yep.
But that and plus it was advantageous to get better rates, right? On
Sure. Yeah.
mortgages and stuff. But she said she had to quit. I said I would have got fired. She said, somebody so there was a couple that came in, had sold their house in their late 70s,
Okay.
79. I think that there's something, maybe even 80. But anyways,
Oh, geez. Yeah, a little ways
the
up there.
bank told them to put their $800,000 into a 5-year locked in GIC
Ew.
for 3.5 years. And then things changed and they wanted to buy a condo. And she said she walked into the lunchroom and this woman was talking about how hard she worked to get these people a mortgage because now they don't have T4 income and she
Oh
lost it. She
no.
said, "Are you kidding me? They have the money. You
Yeah, they
took
have
their money."
liquid cash.
Right? Yeah.
Man.
But
Yeah.
they don't know, right? Like
I
yeah.
think part of that too is they don't know, but sometimes there's also just straight up apathy. They just
Yeah.
say, well, I'm just going to trust the experts or, well, you know what? This is too difficult for me to spend an hour researching of my time or to read this RSP book. I would
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
do
Well,
other
and
things. Not saying everyone, but I'm saying there's a certain subset of the population that just says, let's run on autopilot and not really think too critically about certain things of what I'm doing with my money. But if you would
yeah.
just look at your bank account a little bit more frequently or budget or do these things like reading the book, talking to some other
Right, but
experts,
people
getting a
just
second opinion,
not
it'll help.
everybody is financially savvy.
No, that's
Just
what I'm
last
saying. They're
week,
not. Yeah.
yeah, no, just last week I was talking to a teacher who's single, concerned about my age, but concerned about as she gets older, no children, no
How do
nieces
you
or
get taken
nephews.
care of
She's,
and stuff.
and what if she needs care and how is she going to pay for it? Like she'll have her pension, teacher's pension is decent, right? So, and I knew she probably paid her house off like
A while
20
ago.
years ago,
Yeah.
right? And so I said, "Well, do you have a HELOC?" And she had no idea what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said, "You like I was explaining
That's
to her
step
that
number one.
yeah,
Get a
that she
HELOC.
could use the HELOC to invest to, supplement her income. But I said, you need a HELOC regardless. I said, that's your emergency money. And I said, you need to get it now before you retire, you know, when
Hmm.
your income's higher and they'll give you a big HELOC. You don't pay anything unless you
And
use
let's
it,
use it.
right? But I said,
Absolutely.
even if you go to buy a car, I said, what you're going to pay for the loan, the percentage of the loan versus using your HELOC, you can write a check and then you can paid off at whatever rate you want. You're
Yeah, much better rate than whatever the car company's going to do for you.
exactly. Or emergency money. Maybe your furnace goes and you have to replace that and you don't have, the money in your bank account. Then instead of putting it on a credit card or
Yeah,
right?
don't do that.
But I mean, so these are intelligent people, but just it's not, the
Yeah,
finance
sometimes
being
it's just one
financially
of those
savvy
things.
is just not a thing, for everybody. I'm really trying to teach my daughters, because they're at that age where they're making, they're setting
Purchases
themselves up for
and
life
yeah,
and, trying to make sure that they make responsible decisions so that they set
you're a
the
good role model
groundwork
to kind of be
for,
for them
yeah,
to look up to, though. This is perfect.
yeah, yeah,
They can see
yeah,
how their mother kind of manages finances and within 5.5 years can actually achieve all this with all the multifamily. So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. Anyways, I'm always happy to talk to anybody about what you've got and what you can do with it, especially if you're getting close to retirement and you want to you want
There's your
to
plug. Yep.
bump that up. That's I know all about that. Um, and I've done it, and that like I've been
Tried and
traveling
true.
to Europe twice a year on business trips, and going on a cruise next month. On
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yeah.
Whereabouts? Is it the Caribbean or?
Yeah, the Summit
Oh,
at Sea.
oh, it's for the Wealth Genius. Nice.
Well,
Okay, that'll be
it's
sort of
related.
yeah,
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 related.
yeah,
That'll be
yeah.
fun.
So there'll be education, but
But that's
it's
why you can write it off though. That's huge because it's
well,
real
and why
estate
not have
related.
education in
Yeah,
a in a beautiful spot, right?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's a nice little hack. I don't think people realize how much you can write off when it's business related. It's
Yes,
not even that it's nothing sketchy. It's or in a gray area. It's just that's how the tax laws are. You can do a lot of things, or you can go for business trips down south, and as long as you looked for real estate while you were down there, it counts as a
exactly.
business expense. So
Yeah, yeah.
just get a good accountant, and then you can sort all that stuff out because tax
That's
season's
right.
coming.
That's right. And yeah, we are not tax accountants, lawyers, or
Nope, nor do I want to
yeah,
be.
yeah. These are our own experiences,
Yep,
and we're sharing them with you. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, wow, there's an hour just like that, Tom.
Yeah, that went pretty quickly, eh?
Yes, and I'm sure your dinner's getting ready, so we'll wrap up your birthday dinner. So yeah, we'll wrap things up. Any last pointers? Anything you wanna?
I'd say have some patience when you get in relationships or partnerships, and delay the gratification a little bit. Just if you delay it slightly and you plan a bit more, you'll set yourself up for success long term. And
Yeah,
that's something personally I've been learning, and that's why I say it out there because I have shiny object syndrome all the time, and I love to jump into things or just get into deals because I want to go so far and I want to go so fast. But thankfully, I have someone like my brother who can actually kind of temper that a little bit and say, okay, how
yeah,
about we slow down and think about this? And
yeah.
because we have,
Get a
it's actually
prenup.
working very well. Yeah, or get the prenup in
Because it's
place,
like
and
a
then you're set.
marriage, right?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say that's the main thing to say about that. But if anyone ever wants to invest in Windsor or wants to invest even in Detroit and Cleveland, that's what me and my brother are all about. And so we're happy to talk real estate anytime, any place. And I appreciate you, Jan, for having me on. And then I'll see you probably very soon at one of these real estate meetups coming up here.
I'm sure. I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, thank you, Tom. Thank you to our listeners. If you are interested in being a guest on Millionaire Mindset Mondays, shoot me a DM. And we can get you on here too, and you can share your experiences. We'd love to have you. So I'm Jan Carmanico Reeves on a mission to make real estate investing fun, easy, and profitable. And thank you, Tom, again, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
have a great day, everybody.
You too. Take care.